Hello again everyone and welcome back to Skyblock News. I'm your host Derailious and today we're going to be going over the Torrhus Canyon update as well as the Safari Zone. Two new islands coming to Hypixel Skyblock soon that are currently on the Alpha network. This will be an overview video. I will not be able to go in depth on every single hunting creature as well as every single attribute. If I were to do so, this video would be hours long. Don't get me wrong, you will get a video like that in the future, but right now let's go over the basics and cover everything there is to know about the island at a baseline level. Before we begin, make sure to like and subscribe, use code RAIL on the Hypixel store for 5% off your order, and without any further ado, let's get started. To begin here on the Alpha Network, if you head over to the first island of Galatea, the Moonglade Marsh, you will see the Torrhus Canyon in the distance, and I will give credit to the builders here. This island looks absolutely massive, and it is massive. It's significantly larger than the first island of Galatea. If you want to access it, you head over to the back part of the first island of Galatea, and then you can take this little launch pad over to the Torrhus Canyon. Upon first reaching the Torrhus Canyon, you'll immediately be able to interact with Helia, who I don't think has a finalized texture. By the way, this is a normal thing as part of this update on the Alpha. A lot of the textures are not finalized. But Helia has the Taurus chapters system, basically allowing you to have a similar experience as you would on the first island of Galatea. You'll do things on this island, you'll unlock buffs and benefits. It's fundamentally the same. You get Heart of the Forest XP, Forest Whispers, Foraging XP, probably some Hunting XP, and a whole lot of Shards and Skyblock XP. Something else to note is that you need Heart of the Forest 4 in order to reach this island. It's not a particularly big milestone to hit. And also, there is a new Tier 8 for Heart of the Forest, including a bunch of new perks that I'll be hovering over right now. Some of these are actually extremely solid, I've got to say. The Starland Contest bonus is useful for stuff we'll go over in a minute. The chance to get bonus Safari tickets is also going to be pretty nice. And the first tree gift you obtain every day containing a basic Safari ticket will also be nice for other players as well. But pretty much everything here, including timber, as you can see, grants a percentage chance to fell the entire tree when cutting it. Very nice upgrades. Pretty soon after you talk to Helia, you'll see this split in the path with the Spring Path and the Safari Zone. For now, let's head over to the Spring Path. Following this path, you'll interact with Miria pretty quickly. She's pretty much right along the Spring Path. Miria holds the Starland contest for the second island of Galatea, the Torrhus Canyon. It works pretty similarly to the first island. You get points by doing pretty much anything on the island, and as you can see how you get those points based on her rules. Notably, in the drop tables, the biggest difference is that if you get an uncommon bracket or higher, you will get a Safari ticket. These allow you to get temporary access to the other island as part of this update, the Safari Zone. She also has a shop, as well as pretty much everything else you would expect out of one of these NPCs. There is nothing too crazy or different about Miria, or the contests, or the Torrhus Canyon as a whole, just some additions and new mechanics that we'll go over as well. One of these new mechanics is Honey, and Honey can be interacted with over in the Torrhus Canyon, and basically she discusses a new feature called the Tree Protection Order. Basically, there's this group of evil tree huggers. They are preventing you from chopping down the trees, and if you try to chop down a tree with a tree protection order on it, you'll get fined 1,000 coins, and you'll have to figure out what's up at Honey. Basically, what you need to do is you find a tree that has a tree protection order, and it's a few stationary trees all around the island, as well as the first island of Galatea, the Moonglade Marsh, and you're able to craft a fun-sized pot of honeycomb from the Honeycomb collection, or even a higher tiered one. You go up to a protected tree and you smear it, and after that, once you wait a little while, you'll be able to hunt some critters that spawn from the tree. And this can be found all within the new Honeycomb collection. And as you can see, here is the fun-sized pot of honeycomb. And as you can see, the craft is some enchanted honeycomb as well as some Helix logs, which are the trees all around Galatea. There is only one type of tree in this area. You might be asking yourself, though, how do I get honeycomb? Pretty much all over the Torrhus Canyon, as well as over by the first NPC, Helia, you'll find these honey hives, and you can loot them every hour or so, and pick up some free honeycomb, as well as enchanted honeycomb. And sometimes you'll find critters that spawn out of the honey hives. These are honeybuzz. You can hunt them the same way you would pretty much anything else. These don't drop any honeycomb, I believe, but they do give you their shards. Honey hives have an increased chance to contain double the honeycomb, so it is really useful for you to interact with this system. And taking a closer look now at the honeycomb collection, as you can see, it goes all the way up to 50,000 needed honeycomb. And starting at honeycomb 1, you get access to the honeycomb talisman. Trees smeared with honeycomb attract mobs 5% faster. This is just a bunch of honeycomb in a basic box. A fun-sized pot of honeycomb, which we already went over. You need enchanted honeycomb as well as helix logs. In tier 2, you have the enchanted honeycomb recipe. In tier 3, you have the honeycomb ring, which is basically just an upgrade of the talisman. Trees smeared with honeycomb attract mobs 10% faster. You need 4 enchanted honeycomb for that. You also have an upgraded pot of honeycomb. As you can see, this is more enchanted honeycomb and enchanted helix logs. Note that this reduces the amount of time you need to wait in order for a critter to be attracted to the honeycomb. There's going to continue to be more upgrades as we move through the list. There's the Honey Badger Shard, which grants a chance to instantly attract a mob when lathering a tree with honeycomb. This one is a bunch of enchanted honeycomb, enchanted helix logs, and enchanted eggs. Moving on to tier 5, we have the Honeycomb Artifact. Trees smeared with honeycomb attract mobs 15% faster. This one is 32 enchanted honeycomb and 1 honeycomb ring. And the Jumbo Pot of Honeycomb. This one is 16 enchanted honeycomb and a Helixus, which is a bunch of enchanted helix logs. And as you can see, the time goes down to 15 minutes, and it also has more uses. I believe the family size pot has only 3, and as you can see, the jumbo pot has 10. Moving on, we have condensed honeycomb. This one's pretty self-explanatory. It's 160 enchanted honeycomb. We have the Queen Bee Shard. Honey hives have a small percentage chance to refill instantly. This one is a bunch of enchanted honeycomb, enchanted helix logs, and enchanted eggs, as you can see. Then we have Bee Saliva. You can consume this item to permanently gain +1 foraging fortune. You can only consume 5 in total. It's 1 condensed honeycomb as well as a bunch of enchanted helix logs. And then we have the Honeycomb Necklace, which is really nice. It's an upgrade to the Mangrove Locket, as you can see. Gives you a lot more sweep and a lot more foraging fortune. You'll need 2 condensed honeycomb, as well as 4 helixus, and a vial of spring water, which we'll go over more in a little bit. Well, we've talked about honey. How do the trees work? And the trees are pretty interesting. You have to first chop down the light logs, which are pretty clear. There we go. And then you can chop down the red logs. And boom, there you go. You get a tree gift, same way as anything else. These tree gifts, by the way, are pretty interesting. They have a lot of rare little critter drops alongside them. You could still get chameleon shards. Pretty much everything else about them is pretty normal. And for those interested, the cost of 1 enchanted helix log to NPC is 1,440 coins. And if I were to grab a honeycomb, you can see the base cost of 1 is 20 coins to NPC. Heading a little bit past honey, you'll eventually run into a new shop. And it's over here, and it's called the Evasive Shop. It's led by Sanger. If you click on Sanger, he'll have some new shards for you to pick up, including a chance for visitors to bring you plant matter, increasing your chance of catching flex bones in the Tomb Floodway, bonus magic find against arthropod mobs, bonus tracking while on combat islands, and Slayer quests starting a little bit completed. All of these, well, pretty much all of them aside from the first one, are really solid, and I think players will get use out of pretty much all of them. Sanger also goes over the fact that there's been some changes to how evasive or elusive or mobs work in general when they have a chance of dropping shards. Basically, if a mob is evasive, it now drops its shard on kill. I don't know if we have a full list yet, but this includes mobs like the Titanoboa. Pretty big deal, allows you to get Titanoboa shards just a little bit more often. It's going to be very nice for players not having to worry about actually hunting those mobs. They're just going to get the drop off the mob itself. Still though, very nice to see. Oh yeah, and I just wanted to show off this interaction. This is Tree Hugger Timothy in front of a beautiful gigantic tree that I really want to chop down, and if you click on him, he says, "The tree behind me is pretty mega, huh? I bet you want to cut it so bad, right? Get all that loot and everything? Well, too bad. I've just had a tree protection order placed upon it. So none of you people with all your fancy axes can try to fell it. You know what? I wish we could use our axe on this guy instead." Something else there is to note about the island is just how full of life it is. There is stuff pretty much everywhere on this island. You can walk around and immediately find a dozen new mobs that you probably don't even know the name of. Many of them are the same, there's a lot of groundhogs, a lot of honey buzzes, and a lot of firefoxes, but There's stuff in the air. There's giant bees called behemoths that are absolutely ridiculous. Sometimes you'll be walking around and see one of these guys. I don't even know what these guys do. They're just hanging around. And it's just really interesting to see another island so full of life. Oh, and in case you wanted to see all the bracket requirements for Miria, I unlocked them all through getting every single collection unlocked, and I'm going to hover over pretty much all of them right now. Nothing too out of the ordinary here. Miria's prizes replace the normal Starland prizes on the first island, and we have the first class safari tickets, which we'll go over in a little bit. The special bracket requires 20k total points in order to max out, but the numbers are a little bit different for many of the creatures here anyway, and there's also a shard that boosts your Starland prize amount. And there's also now an attribute or a part of the Heart of the Forest tree, a perk, that increases your Starling contest points anyway. So 20k shouldn't be that bad at the end of the day, though. I'm not 100% certain. Let's now go over the Helix log collection. At tier 1, you get a travel scroll to the Torrhus Canyon. Super cheap, bunch of Helix logs, and some enchanted ender pearls. At tier 2, you gain access to the enchanted Helix log recipe. Once again, nothing too crazy. Moving on to tier 3, you get the Lumberjack Talisman, which reduces the cooldown for throwing your foraging axe by 5%. As you can see, this is just 9 enchanted Helix logs. Moving on to tier 4, you get the Portal to the Torrhus Canyon recipe, a bunch of enchanted Helix logs, as well as a bunch of enchanted Ender Pearls. Moving on to tier 5, we have access to the Lumberjack Ring, reduces your cooldown for throwing your foraging axe by 10%, which is absolutely crazy. And as you can see, it's 64 enchanted Helix logs, 64 tender wood, and the Lumberjack Talisman. But that's not all. You get access to Helixus and the Helix Chopper at tier 6. Helixus is just a bunch of enchanted Helix logs, and the Helix Chopper is an upgrade to the Figstone Splitter. And as you can see, it takes the Figstone Splitter in its recipe, and its upgrade is with a bunch of Helixus. Moving on to tier 7, you have access to the Hawk Shard. This one grants you 1 Helix Fortune for every digit in your Helix log collection with a maximum of 10 mil, and it's crafted with a bunch of enchanted Helix logs, enchanted feathers, and enchanted eggs. At tier 8, you get access to the Helix armor set as well as the Lumberjack artifact. The artifact is a 15% reduction in your throwing axe cooldown. You need a bunch of vine sap for this, a bunch of Helixus, and the Lumberjack ring. There's also the Helix armor set, which is crafted with the Fig armor set and a bunch of Helixus. And as you can see, it boosts the amount of sweep pretty significantly from 6 to 10, and also gives you 15 more foraging fortune, more health, more defense, and another gemstone slot. And it's crafted that way for pretty much every piece of the armor. You need quite a bit of Helixus. And then the final tier is 150k foraging experience, 1 foraging level cap, which means you can get up to 57 in total at the end of this island, 2 from the Miria contests, and 1 from Helix log collection, as well as 4 Skyblock XP. As part of this island release, there is also a bunch of new Torrhus Canyon sea creatures. They're not that bad to kill, they're not too crazy. Many of them are really cool looking though, I will give them that. The drops aren't too nuts either. Many of them drop Helix logs as well as the new drop, the Ruby Veilshrooms. We'll go over the collection for that in a minute, but the legendary loot from other people I've heard is not too crazy for many of these creatures. Maybe there's something nice from the Giant Isopod and the Silk Breeze. I haven't gotten access to those yet though. For now, just note that the sea creatures do exist, and they do drop these, the Ruby Veilshrooms. The first tier of the Ruby Veilshroom collection gives you access to the travel scroll to the Taurus Springs, which takes a bunch of Helix logs as well as 16 enchanted Ender Pearls in order to make. You get the enchanted Ruby Veilshroom recipe at tier 2. This one's pretty self-explanatory. At tier 3, you get the Accelerative Talisman, increasing the speed of your pocket black holes by 5%. This one is 2 enchanted Ruby Veilshrooms and 2 enchanted Helix logs. This one's going to be a must-have. We also have the June Bug Shard right here. Upgrading Safari tickets at the Safari Manager costs 1% less Forest Essence. This one is a bunch of enchanted Helix logs, a bunch of enchanted Ruby Veilshroom, and 16 enchanted eggs. At tier 5, you get access to the Accelerative Ring. Increases the speed of your pocket black holes by 10%. This one takes a bunch of enchanted Ruby Veilshroom and 16 enchanted Helix logs. At tier 6, you get a Veilshroom bunch. This is just an upgraded form of enchanted Ruby Veilshroom. At tier 7, you get 1 Foraging Fortune. At tier 8, you get the Accelerative Artifact, increases the speed of your pocket black holes by 15%. This one takes the accelerative ring, 16 Veilshroom bunches, and 16 Helixus. And the final upgrade is the Veilshroom bracelet. This one is an upgrade of the mangrove grippers. Another vial of spring water is needed for this. Seemingly, you get these from Miria at a higher shop upgrade. I don't know what it costs in order to pick these up. It might be Miria tickets or the special rewards. Who knows? I'll get back to you on this one. I'll leave a comment when I find out. But it also costs a couple Veilshroom bunches, as well as some Helixus. As you continue to climb up the Torrhus Canyon, you'll eventually be in the Taurus Heights, and you'll find some new funny little guys that you can interact with. These are just more creatures that you can effectively interact with and get some shards from. That's a sneaky tiki over there. But as you go all the way up, eventually you'll end up at the top of the spring. This is the Taurus Springs, and as you can see, you can drop down pretty low. So at the very top of the Taurus Springs, if you have the proper amount of pressure resistance, you can drop down into the Taurus Springs and go as deep as humanly possible. There are some critters here for you to hunt if you would like to, but that's not really what we're here for. We're here for something else. And at the very bottom, if you get down there all the way, boom, there we go. You know what time it is. For this little minigame, we're basically playing a game of lowest to highest with the amount of the materials on the floor. And we start with cyan, then we move on to yellow, then we get red, if I can properly hit it. There we go. Then we get brown. And last but not least, definitely the most, we have orange, if I can properly hit it. There we go. Now we can go inside. Awesome. Then we have the Desert Temple. In order to solve the Desert Temple, you're basically going to have to orient the mobs in a certain way. You're going to have the fly facing towards this door. You're going to have the frog facing right. You're going to have the snake pointed this way. And you're going to have the crow pointed towards the snake. And that activates a little hole that you can go in that has the Starborn Temple within. And as you can see, the benefactor bonus for the Desert Starborn is as follows. Your black holes and hunt traps work 25% faster, and you get 2x the hunting fortune from the will bonus. Absolutely crazy solid buffs, I've got to say. There we go, they are now activated. I get 2.5 hunting fortune for now. Obviously, if there's more benefactors, which I imagine a lot of people will sign up for this one, there will be a lot of hunting fortune to be had. And also, the black holes and hunt traps working faster is an added bonus. Something else you can find in the Torrhus Canyon, pretty much in the middle, you can see honey down there, is the beacon. This is basically the exact same thing as the Galatea beacon, or the first island of Galatea beacon, the Moonglade Marsh beacon. You can upgrade it with signal enhancers, so if you still have those, you should be good to go. It works basically the same way. If you do it, you get some Helix fortune. Okay, also there's a couple things that I forgot, but I also can't show off because I either can't find the location or because other various things. First, there is a bunch of fairy souls as part of this update. As you can see, on the safari area, there's 4 in total. And then also on the Torrhus Canyon itself, there are 12 total fairy souls. There's also an NPC in which you can upgrade all of your foraging minions to tier 12 if you would like to. I don't know why you would do it. I don't know if, foraging minions are any amount useful. I just can't find him on the island, but I know he exists, I promise. That is some additional stuff on the Torrhus Canyon. Now that we've covered pretty much everything there is to do on the spring path, let's go to the Safari Zone. Heading over to the right side, you'll pretty much immediately be met with the Safari Frequently Asked Questions receptionist, as well as Andrea, the Safari Milestone handler, the Safari Essence shop, and also heading downstairs, you'll also see the Safari Manager. In order to access the Safari Zone, you'll need a ticket. You get these from Miria's contests, and as you do better and better in those contests, you'll get better and better Safari Experience tickets, going all the way up to first class. The differences between these are pretty simple. First, you get more critter capsules, which is what you need to actually catch critters inside the Safari. You'll also get a bonus amount of Safari Essence, which we'll go over in a little bit. And at the highest tier, you'll get a random quest item. And as you can see, there is a ticket exchange, so you're able to upgrade your tickets for Forest Essence as well as lower tier tickets, and there's a Safari Zone guide. The biggest thing about the Safari Zone is that you can only bring your Safari belt into the zone. No other items, All of your bonus stats, your potions, your attributes, everything else are also disabled until you leave. You cannot access most inventories, menus, etc. Think of this almost like the Rift, although I'm hesitant to even apply that declaration to the Safari Zone because it's not really like the Rift. You'll understand more as we get into it. You're also able to upgrade your Safari belt by progressing through your Safari milestones in the Safari Zone. You can talk to Andrea, which we'll do in a minute, to check your progress. Once in the Safari Zone, you'll be given those critter capsules that I mentioned. You throw these at the critters that you find to catch them, and the critters that drop shards of a higher rarity are less likely to be caught when a capsule is thrown at them. So at common, they're a 100% chance. Uncommon, they're 75. Rare, they're 50. Epic, they're 25. And legendary, they are 10. It might be lower for you. I'm not certain if I have any attributes that buff this percentage, but that's what I see on my screen right now, so that's what I'll go with. You can keep playing in the Safari Zone until you run out of critter capsules. You'll need to obtain a new ticket to try again. So let's go to the Safari Zone. We'll click First Class Safari Experience. We'll get 64 critter capsules, 1 Masterful critter capsule, which you don't normally get at a baseline. You need to upgrade in order to get it. You get 50% bonus Safari Essence and a random quest item. Once you click on that, a little cutscene will appear, which is actually really, really nice, I've got to say. They did a good job on this. You'll hop on the blimp, and off you go. Once you're on the Safari Zone, you'll notice you have pretty much nothing. And if I open up my inventory, you can see I have nothing except my Safari belt. Most of your inventories have been swapped out. There's a Critter Dex, the Safari Essence Shop, the milestone system for the Safari. Your skills are all here, of course, as well as your collections, but pretty much everything is removed from your menu. You can then speak to the Safari Manager to get your items. And as you can see, I got my critter capsules, my masterful critter capsule, my Yogi Berry, this is the quest item, and a lime gem, this is another quest item. When you get into the Safari Zone, though, you can speak first to Hunter Tobias. He'll basically go over the fact that he has access to the Critter Dex. This allows you to see all of the different critters all over the island in its 4 major biomes. The icy biome, the cavern biome, the forest biome, and also the haunted biome. And you can see all of that here. When you catch critters in these biomes, you can then speak to Archie over here. You'll get some Safari Essence for catching those critters, and you can upgrade a bunch of different things. Notably, you can start the Safari Zone with up to 8 additional critter capsules. You can start the Safari Zone with a Masterful critter capsule, which will always catch the critter it's used on. You also get an additional bonus 5 floor drops in the Safari Zone. We'll go over what that means in a minute. You get bonus tracking while in the Safari Zone. You start with an additional random quest item. You can highlight a specific zone in the Safari every time you enter, and you gain 25 hunting fortune when in it. This is randomly chosen, and you can see that with the gate having these bright particles on it. So this would be the icy biome having 25 bonus tracking when within it. Actually, it's not tracking, it's hunting fortune. There's also 25 bonus cold resistance while in the Safari Zone, 20 respiration while in the Safari Zone, and your critter capsules catching critters 50% faster. All of these can be upgraded. It's not going to be like 50% at tier 1, as you can see. Tier 10s for many of these, tier 5s for many others, up to tier 8 for the critter catcher, and only 1 tier for head start and critter master. So for now, let's go into the haunted part of the Safari Zone. And as you can see, there will be these things all over the ground. You'll find them on Galatea too. These are floor drops, and they can give you a bunch of different things. Safari Essence is what you'll get most of the time, but sometimes you'll get these. These are quest items. And as you can see, they have specific things that you can interact with all around the Safari Zone. So I found these in the haunted biome. Perhaps there's a use there in the haunted biome. So I'll have to figure out what specifically I can do with that floor drop. And generally speaking, it seems like the floor drops match which biome you're in. That isn't always the case. Sometimes you can get stuff for other biomes, but the vast majority of the time, it seems like you're getting stuff for the biome which you are in. And as you can see, the soothing incense and the shining coins are the majority of what I got. And as you can see, I got a Yogi Berry there. That is for the bird feeder. That's in the forest biome, so that's not for right here. But most of the time, as you can see, you get the drop of which, the biome you're in. Also, what you'll see all around are these critters. You can basically throw your critter capsules at them. You capture them, you get the shard, you'll get that shard when you leave. Note that I can't leave keeping all of these quest items. They only last for the instance. So basically what you're doing, the gameplay loop, is that you're running around, getting a lot of the different floor drops, finding all of the little secrets around the area. I won't be able to go over them all because I don't even think all of them have been found yet. That could be wrong, but for now, we're still in a very early state of understanding how this works. Eventually, there will be full guides for all of the different areas. But there's also other secret things you can do. And as you can see, I have 4 soothing incense, so we're going to do something pretty fun. If you head back here in the Safari Zone in the back part of the haunted area, first you'll find a fairy soul, but that's not all. If you head down into the cave system over here, you'll find this little cult-like circle. And if you take your soothing incense, this is a quest item, you can then put it on these candles. And pretty quickly, if I place the last one, something interesting is going to spawn from here. The door caves in, and that is a legendary mob, and in my view, probably the boss of the Safari Zone. Normally, this guy would be a major pain to catch. There's a lot of mechanics associated with him, but since I have a masterful critter capsule, I can just demonstrate. I can throw that at him, and we will capture him. There we go. A large part of the Safari Zone is going to be understanding the mechanics of mobs, understanding where all of the floor drops are going to spawn, and generally understanding all of the other little mechanics that you'll find all around the place. You're not able to move super fast in here. It is slower paced content. It is not going to be for everybody in the sense that I don't think literally everybody on the planet is going to get a lot of enjoyment out of this. But I think enough people will find enjoyment out of this and will find the gameplay loop of doing stuff on the Torrhus Canyon, doing all the contest stuff, and then eventually coming over here to interact with all of the different critters, upgrade your belt, take that out, and get a bunch of upgrades. Also, we're going to throw at these foxtrots real quick. They just run around really quick. And as you can see, I'm missing like crazy, but we did get a couple of them. The gameplay loop basically, though, is going to be not for everybody, but I think it's going to be fun enough to entertain a lot of different people. And there is mechanics in pretty much every part of this island, or every zone of this island. For example, if you come over here to the forested area, eventually you'll head over to the birdhouse, which is in the middle. So as you can see, we have bird watcher Tim over here, as well as the bird feeder. You're able to open it up. You can put a quest item Yogi Berry inside, as well as a few others. I think there's like boxes of seeds and stuff. And it catches a bird for you that you can then throw your critter capsule at. This is pretty simple. It's fundamentally not the most, complicated thing in the universe. But for those of you in the audience who like the slower paced content of Skyblock, the looking around, the exploring, the exploration, the adventuring, I think this might be for you. It's definitely different than a lot of other stuff in this game, but I personally am having a good time experiencing it so far, and it's definitely going to be interesting finding all of the really solid shards. We don't know exactly how to get pretty much every single type in terms of all the different combinations that you can get, in terms of pretty much everything else. Players are still finding this information out even a day after. There's also a bunch of other secrets all around the Safari Zone. Notably, there is a bunch of bells that you can find that I think make a rainbow in the middle of the island. And there's just creatures all around. It's a very unique experience for sure. Just looking around and finding all of these weird mobs pretty much all over the place. It seems like a lot of this stuff is, I wouldn't say ripped, but at least directly inspired by Pokemon. I mean, I would be very shocked if it weren't. That is the whole bit with the Safari Zone name. It's directly ripped, actually, from a thing in Pokemon. I'm of the viewpoint, though, that I think they did enough different things with this to where it actually makes sense in Skyblock, and it is pretty fun. There's a lot of unique areas to explore. I'm not going to be able to go through and go over all of them. In fact, I think I've already overstayed my welcome here. But that is the fundamentals of the Safari Zone. So when we want to leave the Safari Zone, we can then click on the Back to Torrhus Canyon area. It'll then give us a little bit of a summary. So we got 11 shards, we got 123 Safari Essence, and 2200 Hunting XP, and we're back over at the beginning part of the island. If we head over to the right once again, and we find Andrea at the top, the Safari milestones, you can see that each of the areas, the cavern biome, the forest biome, the haunted biome, and the icy biome, have their own milestones that give you bonuses to your Safari belt. So for the cavern biome, as you can see, it buffs the hunting wisdom of your Safari belt, and it also upgrades its rarity. So I get hunting wisdom, uncommon, more hunting wisdom, rare, hunting wisdom epic, hunting wisdom legendary, all the way up to mythic. You also get some Skyblock XP for doing this all. And this is for the amount of critters that you catch in a specific biome. So this would be 1.5k critters in the cavern biome. For the forest biome, it's sweep, going all the way up to 10 bonus sweep at milestone 10. So it is going to be a very strong belt. This is basically like the David's Cloak of the Safari area and also the Torrhus Canyon. And that gives you more XP and more hunting XP, another 1.5k hunts. Then we have Hunting Fortune for the Haunted biome. As you can see, this one's going to be highly sought after, going all the way up to 1.5k once again. A bonus 5 Hunting Fortune at the last tier, but obviously you're getting a whole lot more in other tiers. And then we have Cold Resistance. This will be useful in the Icy biome. And as you can see, it gives you a lot of hunting XP, Skyblock XP, and you'll need 1.5k again. And if you ever lose your belt, you can get a new one from Rusty in the Gold Mine. And as you can see, even outside of the Safari Zone, you are able to use your belt pretty much whenever you want. Let me grab that, put it on, and boom, there it is. As part of this update, one of the bigger changes to the Bestiary is that now pretty much every single critter in the game has its own Bestiary. And yes, as you can see, it also has its own mob type. These Bestiaries give you bonus hunting fortune, which I think a lot of people are going to like. They also don't have the craziest Bestiaries in the world. As you can see, most of them are super easy to achieve. I've put basically no effort into hunting down any of these mobs in the past, even on my main, and I have all of them maxed for the most part. Torrhus Canyon is the same deal, basically. A lot of the mobs are new, and they all are able to be caught, same as the Galatea mobs. They give you Bestiaries. This is going to make Bestiary progress pretty crazy. Same thing in the Safari Zone. You're also able to find all of them here. There's also a ton of new shards as part of this update, 321 in total. Now, I'll have something linked below, I believe that shows off all of the new shards, but I'm not going to be able to go over them in-game because, once again, just so many new additions here. Stuff like, for example, a chance for tree gifts to contain double loot, more magic find against arthropods. Killing a bat has a plus 100% chance to add 1 bonus score to your dungeon run, and it just goes on and on, going all the way up to increasing your chance of finding dyes by 1%, getting a discount on starting Slayer quests, increased growth speed in your greenhouse, increased cold resistance from Wumpa. Whenever you cut a tree, reduce its toughness. It just goes on and on, man, I've got to say. It's absolutely crazy. Your visitor attributes are 75% stronger. Finds a hitman egg every 300 seconds during a hoppity hunt. There is just so much to do. And also the rainbow feather shard. This one is Splendor. Which, by the way, if you didn't know what rainbow feathers were, here they are. You can use them on a pet to increase its current level by 1. I don't believe this can be used to over-level a pet. So if I have my level 200 golden dragon, and then I show it, yeah, I'm not able to level it up like that. But still, this is going to be really nice for leveling pets. You get these off of hunting mobs. It's not going to be the type of thing where you need this for like Skyblock XP or anything like that. It's just a nice added bonus. I'm a big fan. Before we wrap up here, I wanted to show off this. This is the gigantic fishing net. And as you can see, it takes the turbo net, a bunch of sublime silk, which is another new drop. We have enchanted sea loomies. We have reinforced netting, which is dropped from the giant isopod sea creature in the Torrhus Canyon, so there's a use for that, as well as a stack of flex bones, and that gets you 110 pull on your fishing net, as well as the ability Overhaul, granting you 10 hunting fortune on water shards caught with this net. Very expensive, but definitely going to be pretty useful. Oh yeah, there's one more secret I wanted to show off. In the Torrhus Canyon, if you head over to this area, and you walk inside this little cave, you'll find what looks to be an abandoned camp with some skulk on it. And then you'll find this. This is kind of a gate that sort of prevents you from going through, but whoever set it up did a pretty terrible job because you could just walk right through it. And if you head down here, you'll find what I can only describe as something really weird. This massive area that is pretty devoid of pretty much all life has this skull looming over it, and a bunch of hooded occultists walking around in a circle around what I presume to be a fountain. This area is very strange. We have basically no detail on it at the moment, but I would be very shocked if this area was not used for something in the near future. I imagine that the team is keeping it either a little secret from us, or maybe there's a hunt that goes on in order to make this place a little bit more alive, but definitely a weird find for sure. Wrapping up here, this is a massive update, and in my view is probably bigger than the first island of Galatea by a very, very large margin. There's just so much to do, so much to interact with, The gameplay loop, in my view, is very solid. You do a lot of stuff on the foraging island, the Torrhus Canyon, in order to eventually go over to the Safari Zone, trade in many of your tickets, and get a bunch more critters unlocked. You then take those critters, make yourself stronger, and that's just a feedback loop that goes on and on and on. I'd love to hear what you think about this update down below. Leave all of your thoughts there. I apologize for not being able to include literally every facet of this update in this video, but as you can tell by the runtime, this is already an incredibly long video. If I went over every single attribute and every single obtainment method and all of those other little secrets and things, we'd be here hours. There's going to be a lot more coming out about this update in the near future, so stay tuned for that. Make sure to like and subscribe. Use code ARAIL on the Hypixel store for 5% off your order, and look to the future, fellas. I'll see you then.